Hello there Pixies, welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a long time since I've posted anything on this channel, but of course there's been a lot of updates to the Wizarding World, with Hogwarts Legacy, the game, and Fantastic Beasts 3 being delayed again. But in this video I mostly want to talk about the rumour of a Harry Potter TV show. So that is what we're going to do. HBO Max is rumoured to be in development of a TV show that could surround Harry or other parts of the Wizarding World. We'll get into that as we go through this. So, like many of the fans of the Wizarding World, I've heard rumours of this TV show for a long time. And I had suspected that the rumours were founded in a bit of truth, because like all studios, all film studios will always capitalise on their big money makers, so it's no surprise there that anyone would be thinking about it. Considering what a phenomenon, like a cultural phenomenon, the books and the films have been, it's been a long time coming, but I'm not sure, is it a good idea, is it not a good idea? Well, there's two sides to every story really. With numerous controversies and cast changes and delays surrounding Fantastic Beasts, I can't help but wonder if the Wizarding World can hold its own against things like Marvel and DC and Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and The Witcher, all these really big, like high stakes, glossy, glamorous, high tech kind of, a little bit raunchy, I suppose. Not Lord of the Rings, that's never been raunchy, but some other things that are pretty raunchy, pretty out there. I just think that's the trend at the moment, and Harry Potter's always been pretty traditional, I suppose. It's always had this quaint sort of traditional, tight-knit community kind of vibe to it. And like I said, the world right now is very fast-paced, high-tech, impressive action scenes. And, Harry Potter literally has a Victorian steam train in it. So it's not exactly, high-tech Infinity Stones, mutants and things. It's not like that. But on the other hand, the possibilities are pretty much endless as to what this TV show could be about. From the books alone, we have many untold stories. And here are a few that I thought of, and I'd love to hear any ideas that you have. My favourite idea is the founders of Hogwarts. Because in the Chamber of Secrets, Professor Binns talked a little bit about the four houses, and how each of them had, have their own little emblem, like the cup, the locket, the diadem, and the sword. So that could be something interesting. Also in that time period was when Slytherin created the Chamber of Secrets and betrayed Gryffindor, so you could show their friendship. They could show the founding of Hogwarts, the relationships between all the characters. Did any of them have romances? Did they not? Also at that time, I believe Binns said that it was around the time when Muggles were still persecuting witches, so there could be witch hunts, and you could have like a rebellious group of, Hogwarts students who want to take down the Muggles or something, and you can have, the rift that it causes with Salazar Slytherin taking, some of the students and turning them into some kind of radical group against Muggles. I mean, who knows? Because at the end of the day, there were witch hunts, witch trials, burnings. At that time in history, it really was brutal with things like that. Also, you could explore the role of Helena Ravenclaw stealing her mother Rowena's diadem so that she could become just as wise as her. We can explore how the Bloody Baron tried to look for her. There's so much that you could do with just that story, and it could be kind of a Game of Thrones vibe because it's medieval, so that's something that's really popular right now. Also, I think it would be really funny if they did cast the kids from Narnia. They're not kids anymore, they're all adults, so they could very well play young versions of the Hogwarts founders. So that would be William Moseley, who played Peter Pevensey in the Chronicles of Narnia, Anna Popplewell, who's also in Rain, a TV show called Rain. She played Susan. You've got Georgie Henley, who played Lucy, and unfortunately, I think Skander Keynes, who played Edmund, I think he doesn't act anymore, but it would be so great to see all of them playing the founders, because I know it's a common thing among like Wizarding World and Narnia fans that the Pevensies that the founders were based on the Pevensies, and I kind of think that's probably a little bit true. So it would be nice to see them play the roles, and they're all the right ages to play adults now. Another idea that I thought of was Tom Riddle, the story of young Voldemort. I mean, for me personally, I wouldn't mind watching young, handsome Tom Riddle, scheming and charming and, plotting his way to power. Christian Coulson was such a good Tom Riddle in the Chamber of Secrets. Obviously, he's far too old to play him now, but he was, it would be perfect for some kind of HBO vibes with the hot young Tom Riddle. I mean, I don't want to glorify Voldemort at all, because he's a villain and he's evil, no doubt, but, the good-looking character, get the girls in there, But yeah, I don't want to glorify Voldemort. He's not to be glorified, but I think it would be really interesting to see the psychology of a young Tom Riddle at the orphanage, and what he did to those students, because it's never explicitly said. It's probably very, very vile, so that's probably why it was never said. But, you've got his life in the orphanage, meeting Dumbledore, working at Borgin and Burke's, trying to get his way into Hogwarts, watching him manipulate the other teachers at Hogwarts, and forming the early version of the Death Eaters. You could also go backwards in time and show Merope Gaunt, I think that's how you say Merope? His mum anyway, Tom Riddle's mum, and her relationship with Tom Riddle's senior, and, the whole Gaunt family in general. You could even talk more about what the Heir of Slytherin is. You could tie in the founders, actually, to a Tom Riddle story, and tie them in quite well. You could even have the story of Ilvermorny tied in there, because you've got Gormleth Gaunt, who, was a member of the Gaunt family. Because the Gaunt family goes back so far, it really is endless what you could do with a Riddle storyline. Also, you've got another idea would be the original Order of the Phoenix, which would also tie in the Marauders. This is probably the most popular option for a TV show concept, because, it would have James, Potter, Sirius, Remus, and Peter. And we could even explore why it was that Peter betrayed them, Everybody loves the Marauders, and the only issue I see with this is that people will be very picky about canon. So it's probably the same with Tom Riddle. Because we know stuff about this from the books, people will be very picky about the canon and getting it right, whereas something is like the founders, we don't know a lot about them, so there's a lot of room to make original concepts that Joe didn't maybe talk about. But yeah, the Marauders and the Order of the Phoenix, the original Order of the Phoenix. We could watch Harry's parents navigating school. We could see the unrequited love between Snape and Lily and their friendship. We could also maybe even see Molly and Arthur in their last years of school, along with Death Eater, Lucius Malfoy, because I think he would have been like a 7th year in James and Lily's first year. I'm not sure exactly the timings. But this could also cross over with the rise of Voldemort. So again, a lot of these show concepts can cross over into each other, which is really useful. And of course, we'd get to see Neville Longbottom's parents, Frank and Alice. We'd get to see more of Mad-Eye Moody, a younger Mad-Eye Moody, a younger Dumbledore, a younger McGonagall. It's just really interesting. Another concept that I had, and I think a lot of people are actually thinking along the same lines, but auras at the Ministry of Magic. So basically, auras, if you don't know, they're dark wizard hunters, kind of like the wizarding police. It's probably a less popular concept, and it would probably be harder to sell, but I've always liked the idea of wizarding detective drama, where like you have two very opposite auras. One's like really stuffy pureblood maybe, and the other's a very free-spirited, very like talkative, upbeat young aura who could be a muggle-born aura. So then you've got that idea of them having to learn to work together with their clashing personalities, and like the muggle-born would know things and know how to approach muggles in a way that a pureblood, a stuffy pureblood, specifically one who doesn't like muggle-borns, would not be able to interact with certain people the same way. So they both would need each other in order to work together, and they'd form a friendship, a steady, very slow bond, and they'd learn from each other. You know, maybe the muggle-born doesn't know as much about the wizarding world as a pureblood would, so they're forced to confront their worst nightmare in the form of each other. You could have one from, like, the States, the MACUSA, and maybe one from, you know, the Ministry of Magic, and they have to work together to take down some kind of international threat, like an organisation that's having an uprising, something like that. And yeah, it would be kind of like a buddy cop, but not really a buddy cop show. That's my concept anyway. There's a lot you could do with that, and you'd have different cast each week because you'd be like a detective drama, but you'd have a through line story of this wizarding organisation, this organisation of dark wizards that are trying to form some kind of international uprising. And I just think that would be a really cool idea. You can have a bit of an ensemble cast, a bit like maybe like the X-Files, or like Bones, the show Bones, with Booth and Bones. There could be like a romance, you know. There's a lot you could do, and we don't really know what auras do. So it would be really cool to see that. There are probably loads of other different concepts we could do. We could follow Harry's children at Hogwarts, or we could pretty much take it to a completely different country. Like we could follow students in Beauxbaton, or like Durmstrang. We could just go all over the Wizarding World, especially now that we know other places in the Wizarding World through Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. There's just so many different concepts. If you have any ideas of what like they could do with this show, feel free to put them in the comments, because there's so many different ideas and I love to hear everyone's ideas. Thank you for watching anyway, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.